Every day, gun violence claims 92 lives in the United States. What can be done to prevent these deaths? Dr. Daniel Webster directs the Johns Hopkins Center for Gun Policy and Research. And today we're going to talk with him about America's unique problem and possible ways to solve it. Welcome, Dr. Webster.
Good to be here.
And what are some of the most successful policies in terms of reducing gun violence?
Well, we've been doing research now for 25 years, and very generally we find that policies that are directed at keeping guns from people with a history of violence or other dangerous behavior are effective. But what makes them particularly effective is when there's adequate mechanisms to keep guns from the dangerous or prohibited people. The most successful policy at doing that is licensing people who purchase handguns.
And aside from gun laws, what else can be done to reduce gun deaths?
I'm glad you asked that, because there's a number of things that can be done that don't involve passing a bill through a legislature. There are public health-based programs that focus on the highest risk individuals who are more likely to be both either a victim or a perpetrator of urban gun violence. Outreach to those individuals, help them to mediate their conflicts, help create different norms. You don't have to solve your conflicts with a gun, and other opportunities. That's one example, and there are other similar strategies that sometimes have complementary approaches with focused, so-called focused deterrence of law enforcement. So we don't have to do mass arrest and mass incarceration to effectively reduce gun violence. That's been demonstrated. It has to be focused, and it has to be focused on changing a behavior, which is picking up a gun to settle a dispute.
It's a kind of a common perception today that gun violence is getting worse. What did the data show?
Sadly, most of our indicators of gun violence are going up. Gun suicides have been going up for a very long period of time, 15 years or more. We've had a steady increase in suicides with guns, which, by the way, account for roughly 2 of every 3 deaths by gunshots in America are suicides. That is a long-term trend that's concerning. The other trends that we see that are more recent are in homicide rates in cities, and we're seeing since 2014 into 2016 and the early numbers for 2017, we're seeing significant increases in homicides with guns.
The Las Vegas shooting really sort of attracted a lot of attention to mass shootings, but can you put those numbers in context of overall gun deaths?
Yeah, so mass shootings, it used to be when I started talking about this, they were less than 1% of our gun deaths. Now they're getting closer to 2%. So they are increasing, but they still are a small portion of our overall problem. Actually, what I'm concerned about is our response to mass shootings. So what we are seeing is both policies and cultural practices where people feel that they need to carry a gun when they go to Walmart. They need to carry a gun in all these different situations, to the movies or different things, because they're concerned about a mass shooting that is very rare. But what the recent research shows is that those policies and those practices that allow everyone, or near everyone, to bring guns into almost any place, it's resulting in more violent crime and more deaths.
Finally, what's your message to people who feel that there's just no hope in terms of trying to reduce gun deaths in the United States?
All of our gun surveys tell us that when you ask very specific questions about gun safety policies, there's agreement, and it includes agreement among gun owners and among Republicans. So I think part of the hopeful path forward is advancing this discussion beyond a cultural battle about some people like guns, some people hate guns, and some are in between, to a very practical discussion. We have guns in our society. We will always have guns in our society. There are things that gun owners agree we can do and should do so that we have fewer gun deaths. And there's actually evidence that those policies that the gun owners want work. So I think that there's reason for optimism, but I think it's going to require a different way that we talk about and approach guns so that we don't get in the trap of a cultural kind of conversation and more of a practical, let's solve a problem. We have a problem with gun violence. We can have less of it with policies that really don't take people's guns away of people who are law-abiding.
Thank you, Dr. Webster. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'm Brian Simpson for Global Health Now. Thank you for joining us.